I'm going to talk about the relationship between three-dimensional thinking and three-dimensional drawing. So I think everybody probably wants to draw well that's studying drawing. And if you're drawing realistically, representationally, three-dimensionally, you want your drawings to have a convincing solidity. In other words, on the two-dimensional surface of the paper, you want to create an illusion that it's three-dimensional and that it's a solid three-dimensional believable form, a 3D form or object that you're drawing. So I'm going to talk about how to develop your thinking so that you can do that in your head. You can visualize the object in your head, turn it around, and make it consistently believable. So this gets maybe edges a little bit into the realm of engineering drawing, but not too much. It's readily comprehensible. And the first thing I want to introduce as a helpful technique or art tool in your arsenal, I guess, is thinking in three views. So what does that mean? Start with something simple, like this eraser, okay? It's really basic. You've got a top, say that's the top. Top view, side view, front view. It has three aspects. Length, like width, breadth, and height. 3 dimensions, right? 1, 2, 3. So same thing with Scully here. You look at him, you see the front, you rotate it and see the side, and you rotate it this way and you see the top aspect. And they're consistent to each other in their dimensions because it's a solid object. It's not changing. It's not morphing or melting, changing its dimensions. So we want that in our drawing, especially if you're doing like comic or animation drawings. You want a convincing solidity that's dependable and consistent. Of course, it doesn't take into account things like in animation. You do squash and stretch, or you do that in still comic book cartoon drawings. You do that of all kinds, but that's a different aspect to the discussion, because if you warp something in that way or stretch it, you're doing it purposely for exaggeration and cartooning purposes. So that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about trying to get a feeling of solidity in your drawings. So let's, for example, just go over a very simple 3-view drawing. Say I was to draw a simple form like this. I'm just inventing it on the fly. And I'm going to try and make it a bit consistent here. I'm not really too worried about perspective. I'm just using it as an example. Got my nice chunky pencil. So it's kind of drawn almost parallel. So say I put that over here a bit, and I get my other piece of paper. I'm going to use my graph paper in a minute for more accuracy, but here I'm just demonstrating the concept. So say I go, this is my side view, and I'm looking over here at my drawing, earlier drawing. I'm going to do a side view. And I'm not trying to be 100% accurate here. This is just to demonstrate the concept, so you get used to thinking this way. So this object seen straight from the side would have that aspect. And then you're going to use lines to keep yourself honest. And if you looked at it from this aspect here, you're going to just see this. So let's make the width. I can decide whatever width I want, but on my little ruler here, it's 5. And because it's got a flat plane on the side over here, it's all consistently flat. See, it's all vertical. That means that in the front, it would just be a straight line. So the front view drawing would just be like this. And then we want to get the top view. So I know that the width is 5. And from the top, like looking down this way, it's going to be the same. So I can line that up here. I'm going to make 5 here. That's the same width, but seen from the top. And then I can project over parallel lines. This is like this, so it's going to give me my endpoint. And I made this simple here because I've used a squared off form. Of course, it gets much harder when you get into organic, rubbery, rounded forms. But I'm projecting these lines here. Oops, I'm just extending these. I didn't draw them long enough. So you've got that, and then all you want to do is project these dimensions over to the top view. So this view here would be looking straight down from above. So to do that, this is just an artificial line. It's just a projection line where things sort of turn the corner, any dimension. And I don't even really need it that much here, but say I had some kind of object here that was over at this spot. I would use it to project. I could project its position by going like this, and it would give me the placement on the top view. See, that lines up. And let's just make it like that, as if this original form had a bump like this on it, just to make it a little more complex. You can see that. So then I'm constructing that in the side view here. So like I said, it's a little bit more like doing an engineering drawing. I can just go around the outlines of it quickly. But what this does is, thinking this way, it teaches you to always be thinking of what do the other angles of my object look like. And again, an experienced animator or probably comic book artist can do this, but if you're learning, this is really what you have to do. And this gets into the study, which I'll do more videos on, the study of form and the study of what happens when things rotate in space and are seen from different angles. So here, I forgot my little bump here. This would be like a 3-view engineering type drawing of what this form in space looks like. So if you were just given these and you're used to looking at and thinking in forms, you could figure out what the actual 3-dimensional object would look like, which would be this. So that's almost like an exercise. It's kind of fun to learn to think of things from those 3 aspects. And of course, in drawing, you're going to be getting into the in-between aspects, which I'll get into in a minute. Like if you're rotating, say, a head or whatever, you want the different angles. But again, my basic premise of this video is just to train yourself to be sort of 3-dimensionally honest. So I think the next thing I'll do, though, is to do it with a head. Let's invent a head. And first I'm going to do it by doing side views and like doing the basic views. And then I'll show you how to reverse engineer it if I don't forget. So say I'm just making up some kind of cartoon character. You know what? I'm going to zoom in. Might help us a bit. Are we in frame? Let's adjust. The wonders of the low-tech life. Okay. So this is just making up some kind of goofy cartoon character. It's not even that goofy. It's very basic. But I'm keeping it simple on purpose. And let's see where we get to. So that's like my side. I'm doing it on this grid paper to keep it quick and simple to line up, but I'm still going to rule in these lines. So the chin and the top of the head, that gives us the top and bottom. So then let's make a center line. I'm going to make this the center line, just arbitrarily. That doesn't matter. It just depends on how far away you want your drawing to be. So again, because I'm inventing this on the fly, this guy could have a wide head when seen from the front, or it could have a narrow head. I'm just going to wing it. So let's say it's about like this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks on my grid paper. And his eye line is here, so I'm just going to project that over. And let's put his eyes here. And it's at the size of the second one there, a little bit like that, okay? And then the bottom of the nose is here. The mouth is just here, and so on. So what I'll do is just create a jawline. So say he has a jaw which turns a corner a bit. It's right at that point. So I find that point over here, and it might change angle slightly there. And then again, his ears line up here. So let's make his ears stick out a bit. And the nose, we can make it, we can't tell a width. From the side view, you can't tell a width, so you can invent whatever you want. Let's make it just under his eye. He's got a really wide nose. And you wouldn't probably cartoon both lines there, but I'm just doing that to make it a bit more of a diagram. And his mouth is like this. Okay, so then let's do the same thing I did a minute ago and just quickly project the top view drawing. Same thing, I want the width from seeing it from above, so I've got 4 on this ruler. I'm just going to use that. And I'm going to mark that off. Fortunately, it lines up with my grid decently. Let's just check that. Yep. And then with the ears, it's 5. So that's a bit of a net. Have I got that right? No, I did it wrong. Yeah. That's what you do when you get videos and you're on the spot. All right, no erasing. We'll move forward. Center line is there. Okay. That's my center line. That's my sides of the head here. There we go. Okay, so like I did a moment ago, I'm just going to project, but this time I will have things to project across. I find this angle here. It's just my projection line. So I can project these spacings. So for example, his eyes are 2 main ones. These are the lines that the eyes are on. Might help to do this in a colored pencil, but there you go. These are the eye lines. And I'm working back and forth, so I'm going to project, for example, right here, the edge of the brow would be on that line. So you'd probably be seeing a circle from above where the eyebrow line is. The end of the nose on the center line here is here. And now I need the width of the nose to know where to place it. So again, it's just inside these eyes. Let's put the 2 eye lines, even though you wouldn't see them from above, I'm just marking it. And the nose tip is there. And it's going to look something like that from above. And then you got the rest of the head. Let's do the ear line here. So the ears are going to start there on either side of this head. And his skull is going to probably be something like this. So I could have made his head maybe a touch wider, but with the ears, which are on this line, they go back to here. And yeah, I could probably do it a little bit more of the back of his head, but let's not worry about that. He maybe got laid too much on his back as a baby. This is to demonstrate the concept. So anyway, there you go. That's you're projecting honest dimensions. So let me show you another, and you can do this for any, you can add more detail, like you could have a hairline here, say you had hair. I'm jumping around here because I'm trying to remember the different things I want to say. So say he had a hairline there, and you know, it went like this. You could project all these dimensions. Some of them you wouldn't see from above, but for example, here you'd see that the hairline lines up with the brow, so the hair's from above. You're not even going to, you're going to have to draw the hair. You're not going to see his brow because this hair lines up with his brow. The whole point of this is that when you're making a drawing, you're making it three-dimensionally honest, almost like a computer 3D program would do it. Now, of course, you're free to change that later, but my point has been, in describing all this, is to train yourself to think this way. I think what I'll show here is I had a note here. Too many notes to myself. I call it reverse engineering. So say you draw, just you make up some drawing that you like. And it's, again, kind of similar. And it's a sort of three-quarter view. You got the ear, the hairline. and you go, hey, I like that character, but what does he look like from the front? You can guess, but you can also just project the dimensions, like you can do this kind of thing. And you can get the spacings. You can make a center line, and you could mirror it. Like if you're doing it on the computer, you could just draw one side and mirror it, but you can do it by hand too, and just measure quickly. Sometimes what I do is I just use measurements like this with my fingers and just move my, you know, so say I'm making up the width of his eyes here. And I want that distance from the center line. I can just go like that. And I know the other side of his eye. And so on. So this would be like the mouth line. And the ears would be here. And so out of the one drawing, you can project or reverse engineer the other views. And there's even more cool things you can do. So let's get some fresh paper. So say you have, go back to this guy, Mr. Grumpy here. Say you do, got this guy with his mustache. And he's got let's make a different hairline, straight down. And it's the 1970s, so he has a sideburn and a giant ear. Well, I don't know if they had giant ears in the 70s, but he's got some odd haircut here too. So say you go, and you can kind of see it here in this drawing edit. You say you want a low angle on this character, but you want it consistent. What you can do is project different lines. If you wanted a high angle character, I might do a different drawing up here, but what you do is use parallel rules and project the different dimensions. I'm using this ruler because it's easy to keep it parallel by lining it up. That would be, this line, for example, would be the bottom of his ear. This would be the bottom of his mustache. You can project as many as you want. And if you're doing this on your computer, you just use parallel grid lines or ruler paper or whatever. And this would be his eye line. This would be the tip of his nose. If you see those lines, yeah. And then this would be the top of his ear. When you get enough lines, you can always go back and add more. But then what you do is make a center line 90 degrees here to these lines. And then you start just drawing the upshot. So I'm going to try and stay out of the way so you can see. So you got the eyes. And you see the nose here would be like this. Mustache. The chin here. Let's give him a little dimply chin so we can draw something there. And then the hair. You can see that much of it. Of course, there's no nostrils shown here, but we'll have to show the nostrils because we're from below. So you got to do some interpretation there. And sideburns. Let's say these sideburns are pretty big and stick out. You might have his cheek line here, but then you might have this hair here in front a little bit sticking out, so it might obscure a bit of his ear. And it depends on how much, yeah, his ear might be like that. And then depending on the dimensions of this hair, but say it waved out, just to give it some interest, you might have something like this. And let's give him a little curl here, just to make it more interesting. That's got to line up again. So you got the bottom of the lip here. It's not quite lined up. I think you see the idea is you're making yourself three-dimensionally honest. And you can actually figure out views that will give a solidity, like the different angles you might need. And again, you could cartoon these more if you want a more extreme style. And if you wanted a down shot, you just do the same thing, but from a different angle. Like, I'll do this quickly and then probably wrap up this video. Again, I'm just choosing, this is like a center line. I'm putting that arbitrarily here. There's no relationship to this drawing. It's just whenever you got these lines that you want a center line. So then it would be like his brow line looking down would be like this, in the way that, you know, once you're looking down, it's different than looking up, right? I think the arc is curving this way, although this skull is pretty flat here. Let's look at Mozart. He's got a bit of a browy curve going that way, and then when you go this way, it's curving the other way. So, you know, you're going to have the nose like this, looking down. You're going to see that the mustache is projecting here. The base is back here. The edge of it is there. So you're going to have something like this from above. The thing that's interesting when you do this is that you often find out things about how it would look that you wouldn't expect. And so what you start figuring out is your own biases of like sort of habits. It kind of forces you to be honest. So for example, I'm learning here that, say this hairline was like this, from this angle, it would be a straight line there, if you see that. And then the back of his head would be over here. Ears, I'm just winging it in here. Ears from above would be like this. Sideburns. What did I say? There's a bump here. Would that show up here probably somewhere? Some of it you'd have to even do more points, data points, to be more exact. But here we've generated kind of a down shot on this guy. And you could actually even run these dimensions back up into this one if you want it to be consistent. So you can kind of do that endlessly. You can do that from back views, top views. I could draw more, but I think you get the basic idea. And I'll probably do more videos on this. It endlessly fascinates me. And again, my plea is that if you kind of, I'll zoom back out here. Oops, wrong way. If you train yourself to think this way, always in 3 dimensions, here are like some more little doodles I did. If you train yourself to think in 3 dimensions from three views, you really learn a lot about form. And there's a ton more to explain about form. I'm going to do a video about intersections and perspective related to this. You can't really explain it all at once. What you have to do, like I'm doing here, is if you're studying drawing, there's way too much to study it all. So what you need to do is slow down, take one piece of something, like for example this, and play around with it until you really feel that you've grasped it and integrated it into your thinking, and then you move forward. And if you do that, you actually make progress. The alternate is if you just draw your habitual way every time you draw, but you don't ever try and change one simple aspect of it, what you end up is with just a whole bunch of drawings over the years that just look the same, and you never move forward. That's kind of what I was trying to do in my other video for people who have watched them when I showed my sketchbook from 1977. I may or may not have made the point very well, but in that video, one of the points I wanted to make was that when I went through these drawings as an 18-year-old kid, I was searching, but they were very confused and they were very muddled and they were very repetitive of being the same kind of vague sort of scribblings. And they were not moving somewhere in terms of progressive understanding. So something like this, thinking in 3 dimensions, will really, really help. It's like when you see those, you've probably all seen those views they do of aircraft or any kind of engineering things where it's front, side, top. If you get that in your head and really learn to think that way and do a few of these or as many as you want to, I think it'll really make a big difference. So as ever, if you have questions, please leave them in the comments. Please like this video. You know, everybody says that, but it is important and it does help get noticed. And all the rest of the good stuff. Subscribe, describe, share, inscribe. and prescribe. There's all the kinds of scribes. Be a scribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.